Hi, just a short video on how to make an image like this where we've got a background, a textured or photo layer combined with a drawing on top, and we're painting through or cutting out to the layers underneath. So step by step, File, New Document. We want to make sure it's print, and we're going to put in to millimeters or inches, whatever you've found out is the measurement. I know it's 210 by 270 for Frankie Magazine measurements, and hit create. So we've got a blank document. We're going to go File, Place Linked to go and get our image, and I would suggest you get this organized beforehand into a folder. Resize if necessary. Hold down the Control key to stop it from distorting. So I might actually enlarge it a little bit, and it's a good idea to do this while it's still what we call a smart object. Hit the Return key to apply that, and you'll notice that it's got this little object that tells us the smart object, and we can't actually edit that image. So we'll have to go to the Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object, and now you'll see that's an ordinary layer. Now we can actually edit it. So go Image, Adjustment, and let's just do to colorize it, go to Hue Saturation. So you can hit that little colorize button and it'll actually just change the line work to one color. But this could be a drawing or a painting, but it's actually, when you say colorize, it'll actually bring one colour into a black and white drawing. So some of you have got that situation where you've got a black and white drawing and you want to push the colours one way or another. You could also use the saturation to make it a little stronger, or the light or dark one. Say OK to that, and then go and get your textured image that you want to play, or it could be a watercolour, whatever it is, place linked. So I'm going to use this and hit the place. It'll come in automatically on another layer, and again hold down your Control key and just expand that and make sure it's in the place that you want it to be. And it'll stay nice and crisp if you do this expanding while it's still a smart object. So you can see it's still a smart object. I can't edit that. So again, I've got to go Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object, and I could paint through to the drawing, but actually what I want to do is have the drawing on top and end up with that texture. So I've got to drag down. So just notice I'm selecting the out here on the name. If you double click you can rename it, but I just want to click and drag, and you'll see a blue line that's let me move the layers. We no longer can see it, but you know it's sitting underneath. And now we could use an eraser and just rub out, basically, rub a hole through to see underneath. But a better thing to do is actually to use what's called a layer mask. So whatever layer you're on, it should be the top layer, click on the little mask button and then use a paintbrush. And this can be nice because you could use a textured paintbrush. And I'm just using an ordinary one. And it's a bit like doing a watercolour. The more times you go over it, the stronger it'll be. So you should start with your brush, and you can choose a textured brush. That can be very interesting. The opacity quite low, and that way you can just subtly reveal the image underneath. And the nice thing about the layer mask, as opposed to just using an eraser, is that if you don't like it, you can ditch it at any point. So just show you what I mean by that. So if I'm not really happy with what I've done, I can just hit the garbage bin and I can either delete it or apply it. If I apply it, it becomes a permanent edit to this object. We won't do that yet because maybe we want to change it and do more on it. So maybe I come back and I go, okay, I want to actually make that a little bit stronger around here on the cheeks and so on. And I can... So I could have it quite subtly down here, not as strong, and have it more emphasised on the face. Now remember where things are, so if it's the image underneath you want to change the colours, you certainly could. Make sure you're on that layer and go to Image, Adjust, and just pop back to that Hue Saturation slider. And this time I'm not colorizing it, I've got the existing colours and I'm just fiddling with the actual colour. So I'm pushing it one way or another depending on what I want, and I can actually saturate those colours as well. So I can make them push, I wouldn't go too far because then you get something really unnatural that won't print properly. It's a magazine, so we would be printing it at some point. So you can have quite a bit of fun with that, mucking around and maybe pushing it more towards blues or more towards greens, and then you do have your light and dark you could play with. And then, but important if you want stronger colour, saturate it. So I can go back to that mask and note that I'm on the mask where there's the white highlight, and then I want it a little bit stronger, so I just go back over the parts I want it a little bit stronger. Okay, so that's kind of the effect I want. The next thing is I want to put some colour on the background, so I can actually use that paint bucket and just paint bucket in. You can't see it, but you can see it sitting there with that blue colour. To reveal it, I've got to get rid of the white up here, but I don't want to get rid of the white here, so I've got to make a selection of what I want to get rid of. You can use this direct selection tool. If any tools aren't showing, hold down your Control key and click on the tiny little triangular tag on the tools, and you should see the tool you're looking for. So I want quick selection, and I can make quite a decent selection there, but remember you've got to be on the layer where the pixels are. Now if I just hit the delete key, you can see I've got the image from underneath showing through now because I've chopped through one layer, but I can leave that selection active, go down to the next layer, just like a stack of papers, delete that, and then I've got the blue. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now Command D to deselect that selection, or go to the selection menu and just say deselect. See that Command D? It's good to learn some of these, and so that's deselected it. So I'm pretty happy with that, and now maybe I've decided I'm quite happy with this layer mask. I don't want to fiddle with it anymore. So remember I said you could hit that delete and I can either apply or delete it. Or I can go to the layer menu to find it and go layer mask, which is what it is, and apply it. And you notice that's now a permanent change. If I click off, see that's now permanently changed, that's permanently clipped into that image. Okay, so that's really it, and I could flatten those layers to now add my title if I want to, but I'll do that in another tutorial. So I'm going to actually flatten those layers so it now becomes, or two layers, hold down the Shift key, and now if I just merge those layers, that's now one image sitting on the background, and that would allow me to then do what's called a layer mask, a gradient mask, and that's quite different, but it's a lovely effect to put type on top. Under the paint bucket tool you'll find the gradient tool. So we're going to put another mask on, another layer mask. This time we're going to use the gradient tool instead of the paintbrush, and we're just going to drag, got to be on the mask, we're going to drag across this image, and you can see I'm getting a cloudy kind of version, and I can just play around with that. Why would I do this? Because perhaps I want to put my type up there. And you can see what it looks like. It's like a gradient on there. And again, it's not permanent. I haven't actually done anything to the pixels on this image. So if I didn't like it, I could change it. I can drag across to the side. I can make it bigger, drag further, and so on. So that's probably all I want to do there. And I can experiment now with putting some type on top. You could import your text, or you could just use the type tool here, and I'll make sure it's white. So I'm switching it around so that it's white up here, the colour. And let's just put, the word Frankie and make it nice and big. Spelled it wrong. That's okay, I can get my type tool. While it's still type, I can edit it and change the spelling and so on. So do it again, because I haven't turned it into an image. So you can muck around with that, and you can type in a number. So if I wanted it 200 points, I certainly could get it really big, and I can move it around on the page. So it's probably a little bit too small. Sorry, too big. So, I could fiddle around with the actual type. So you can see it automatically creates the type layer. And we're almost ready to stop. This is really where we want to get you to, so that you've been able to bring in your drawing. And instead of a blank background like this, you might be putting a second image in there, and that's fine.